Hi, Eric Gibaud, ericgibaud.com, and today I am in front of Digiphoto in France, in the city of Metz, and it's a special day because thanks to Digiphoto, but special thanks to Olivier from Fujifilm France, who came specially to bring me this camera, the X-H2, so I can present it on my YouTube channel. So let's start. Oh, Eric, what are you doing here? I thought you were in France, and here I see you in Tenerife. Well, yes, I am in Tenerife. Well, actually, the reason is simple. When Olivier from Fujifilm France, so thank you, Olivier, brought me the camera to Digiphoto in France, Metz, I could have it only for 2 days because I was flying back on the Tuesday. It was a Friday. I was flying on Tuesday, and on the Monday it was the anniversary of Digiphoto. So happy anniversary! So it was impossible for me to record everything. So I thought it was more important to record there the introduction and the outro, and also the physical visit of the camera, to show you the camera, and spend most of my time of those 2 days making pictures there, daytime, nighttime, test it, to give my feeling, my impression, and then to record here what is recording technical details, and obviously my impression and conclusion. Okay, so this is why this part of the video is recorded in Tenerife and not in Metz. Okay, so but honestly, look at my hair. That's the effect I had with that Fujifilm. A big blow. Okay, before showing you the camera, giving some technical details, I'll show you some pictures while I speak, also pictures I made with the camera, obviously. We're going to speak about Mr. Fujifilm. Obviously, Mr. Fujifilm, for me, it's worth speaking about the whole company, okay? Mr. Fujifilm is a guy with a head like this, like this. A few years ago, they told him, when are you going to do full-frame cameras? And the guys looked really like this. Look at me. Look at me. Never, never, never. So they make APS-C cameras and medium format cameras, which is larger than full frame, and that's it. So people started to nag, yeah, but if you don't have full frame, you cannot put that many pixels, you're limited, unless you want to buy medium format, but with APS-C sensor, you're so limited, that doesn't work, all this, all that. Wow, Mr. Fujifilm, just look at it, straight in the eyes, and paf! A big slap in their face with a 40.2 megapixel sensor, APS-C format. So this is what we're going to see. We're going to see if the results are there and if Mr. Fujifilm was right. Oh, please, if you have not done it yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just here, the small button, a small bell. If you click on the bell, get notification when I upload a new video. So let's carry on. So as I'm speaking about the sensor, this is, as I said, 40.2 megapixel. It's an Nextrans sensor, BSI. I think this means it is retro illuminated, but it's not a stacked sensor, which is different from its brother or sister camera, which is the X-H2S that has a stacked sensor. So now we're going to have a look at the physics of the look of the camera itself. Okay, so let's do a physical visit. As you can see here, we're gonna start here. Open the door. Here I've got a dual card reader and reader and writer, I would say, SD card, UHS2, and also a CF Express B. There are a different kind of CF Express. This one is the the B type. Okay. On top here you have a screen. I switch on. As you can see, you have information. When you switch it off, it stays on for a while, and then when it disappears, you still have the battery level, which is really good because without switching on the camera, you know how much battery you've got left. Okay. And here are the buttons. Here joystick. You have the wheel, so one here. So when you can have a speed or a shutter speed, or you have aperture. If your lens has the aperture here, obviously you would use probably here. And otherwise, if you have a lens without any aperture indicated here, you can manage from here. Okay. Here you have the joysticks for the autofocus point. Many buttons, they all are, you can set them the way you want, okay, all of them. Here the trigger, and here you have the button for recording video, and here they have the screen is flip forward, and you can turn it this way. But as you can see here, you have 2 spaces for screws. Okay, what is that? Well, there is an optional fan you actually stick there. It's an accessory that exists for this camera and also for the X-H2. Well, it's hard to say, X-H2. Okay, so you screw it on, and here it will the fan will cool the camera. This is probably the best way to have a camera while recording video to be cooler and not overheating. Okay, and here you have more buttons. Here you have the typical wheel on the X-H series and the XS series, because Fujifilm normally they have the aperture here on the lens, and here they have speed, okay, shutter speed. But this one you have the typical PSAM, and also you have 7 profiles, C1 to C7, and you have a small camera when you record video, and also a small thing that says filter to access some filter. Okay, then if you go the other side here, let's go this way. I'm going to open all these small doors. Okay, here and here and they're well protected because it's protected for rain and dust, all this. So here are the connectors. As you can see here, you have a full HDMI connector, which is what a videographer prefer normally because it's more solid. Here you have for microphone and for headphone. Here you have USB-C for charging or using USB-C port for whatever. Here you have 2 small holes. I can't remember what it is. I think it has to do with the fan behind. I'm not sure. Okay. And on the other side, here you have for remote control, which is here, remote control connector. Okay. And I must say, the way it is, I really like it. As you can see, it's full size. It's almost the size of GFX 50, okay, or GFX 50S or GFX 50S2, sorry, or the GFX 100S, okay. And my little finger is not falling below, you know, as you can see, okay. It's at the limit, but it's okay, and it's not small, okay. And the feeling in your hand when you work with it is really brilliant, really nice, really nice. And I must say that although it is APS-C, it is not smaller than many full frame and probably bigger than some, okay? And is not that smaller than the GFX 100S, okay, or the 50S2, okay? So really nice layout. You look at the camera and you see with a top screen, all this top monitor, I think the idea is really to have professionals use this gear. They don't use the typical speed wheel on top. They're actually using the PSAM or PAS. I always say it in the wrong order, okay? But you see the way they do it, it's different from the rest of other cameras, except the XS10 that also have this small wheel, which is similar to other brand, okay? Not the typical Fujifilm speed wheel, okay? Or shutter speed wheel. And you see that their intention is really to focus professional photographers onto this camera. It was already true with the X-H2, but there were so many years without issuing a new camera that many had moved to the XT line, the XT3, XT4. So I think with this, they're just calling them back and trying to bring people from other brands to this range, the X-H, okay? But you really see this is a tool thought for professional or enthusiast amateur. Obviously, a professional may use a camera that is thought not for professional, but for advanced amateur, and vice versa. You have amateurs are actually using cameras thought for professional. But I speak about the idea they have, okay? But I think this is really clear. Just by looking at the camera, you feel it already. When I get into technical details, my big problem, it is really hard to speak about the X-H2 without thinking about the X-H2S. Although I've not tried it, I had it in my hand, I've seen it, I've read the specs, I've seen some reviews, and it's really hard because Fujifilm once more have managed to make us a bit confused which one is best. I think that with this 40 million pixel sensor, it's more logical to think about it as a photography camera, but then it has some great video features. And when you look at the X-H2S, you think that it's a great camera for video, but then it has some advantage with photography. So we just get a bit lost. Okay, so we're going to have a look at it and see. I speak about this camera, but still, I think I will try to help people who are a bit doubting which one is better for them. Okay, many people make a massive mistake. They think that the more pixel they have, the more megapixel they have, the better the camera. That's not the way it works. Okay, the more megapixel you have, the more challenge you have. Low light, stability, because every movement will be noticed on the picture. Actually, you need a really good stabilization IBIS or stabilization lens, whatever, to get the picture sharp. Okay, actually, I made a test. I'll show you right now. Okay, testing IBIS, walking slowly, waist level. The sound you hear is directly from the camera microphone. I don't know how you can judge. Okay, so you've seen it, gives you an idea. Okay, so it's important that when you understand this, you know that this camera is probably more for photography than videography. Okay, but what kind of photography? Any photography? Probably not. Probably more landscape, more portrait, more product photography, macro maybe, but something you actually need high resolution for whatever reason, whether you want more details or you want to reframe or you want to print in really large, when actually it's proved that you don't need that many pixels to make large prints, okay, unless you want to have a look at this distance, okay. But still, it's important you know that, because many people spend money on really high resolution and then after it doesn't answer the needs, okay. This camera is probably the best camera for some things and not the best at all for others, but this happens with this one and with any high resolution cameras, okay, or low resolution cameras, depends what you want to do. But when a brand issue that kind of camera, you understand they want to specialize their gear, that this camera is targeted to a market of people who need this, and it's not a universal camera, okay. It's important before you buy anything to think about this. Do you actually need so many million pixels, or maybe less would be better, or yes, you definitely need them. When we speak about professional photographer who do product photography, portrait, landscape, studio photography, normally there are people who completely control lighting, whether it's natural light and the situation is fine, or they add their own lighting. So when people start to criticize the ISO results, they probably misunderstand what this camera is for, who this camera is for, and the way they're going to use it, okay? But still, we're going to have a look at the ISO and see the results. First, the base ISO is now starts at 125. Before it started at 160, I think. So the native is 125 up to 12,800 ISO, and then you can force it to 64, 80, 100, 25,600, and 51,200. So I've shown you a picture I've made at the hotel, okay, and I think up to 3200 the quality is okay, it's acceptable. On 6400 you do need some cleaning. Some people will say, yeah, but then this is too low, this is not enough. Well, we'll say you probably don't know how to use this camera, you probably don't understand what is this camera for. So I think for what I mentioned, the kind of photography you would probably do with this camera, 3200 clean ISO is fine, it's perfect, you don't need more. In some cases, you will need 6400. If someone says, yeah, but I made night photography or wedding photography at night, I need ISO that can go higher. Yeah, but this is not the camera for that. You don't do a wedding reportage with 40 million pixels. That's nonsense, okay? You will probably use the X-H2S with less megapixel and better high ISO, okay? So I think with 3200 ISO, that's fine for what this camera is for. I said before, it's not really a camera for action photography, but when you're in the studio, it doesn't mean you don't have action photography, okay? It means, for example, you want to capture a bullet getting out of a gun, or an arrow out of a bow, okay? So you need really a fast shutter speed, and sometimes flashes are not fast enough to freeze the action. So they have an electronic shutter that goes up to 180,000th of a second. That's not little, okay? That's really fast. Obviously, they have the classical mechanical shutter with from 30 seconds up to 1/8,000th of a second, plus a bulb mode of 60 minutes. But you see here, they're thinking of you work in a studio, you want to freeze some action, some movement, some product or whatever, some splash, you have a great tool for that, okay? But there are people that are really megapixel hungry and they want even more. Okay, well, they've included the pixel shift system that actually it has to be on a tripod, okay? And it moves the sensor and makes several pictures and then stack them together and you get 160 million pixels, which is massive. Obviously, you cannot do that on movement, on action photography, because anything that moves in the scene will be like a strange effect, okay? And the camera must be really steady because they make several pictures, but for some picture like product photography or some things that architecture or things like this is perfect. 160 million pixels, okay? Fujifilm is also really well known for their really good JPEG format photo, okay? But JPEG is not the best quality, although Fujifilm JPEG are really good, but they've included the H.E.I.F format, which is 10 bits and 30% lighter than JPEG, okay? So you really see that this camera is really a photography tool with many possibilities for really high quality photography. The massive problem with 40 million pixels is that the readout time of the sensor is slow, okay? Because the sensor reads the image like this. So if you have make a picture and there's some action, time it reads, maybe the person or the plane or whatever that you're taking a picture of has moved. So it will make a strange form, a shape, it will change it, okay? So this is where you understand that the readout is important. And when I say you cannot do action photography, yes you can, but you probably will have some difficulties because it's not a camera thought for that. And actually you see it when you look at the frame rate when you make pictures, okay? With the mechanical shutter, you get 15 frames per second. But when you go to electronic shutter, it goes down to 13 pictures per second. That's strange. Well, if you want more than 13, you can go up to 20, but then you get a crop, okay? Because this time it takes less time to read all the space you're actually using of the sensor. So that's a tough decision, but I think it's good for people who don't want to have two cameras. They really not that often make pictures of with action. When it happens, they have this option to go cropping a bit and be able to make a higher frame rate, okay? That's a possibility, okay? But I understand this camera is not for action photography. So Mr. Fujifilm, him again, has convinced us that this is a photography camera. So you get your manual out, you check the menus in the camera and you see video 8K. Yeah. 8K, that's not a small video, okay? That's a serious gear, serious stuff. What is that? Yes, out of a sensor that size, well that size, not that size, that resolution, you can get 8K. So they offer the possibility to make 8K video. And this is where you get like, whoa, okay, its brother or sister X-H2 cannot do 8K. So this one you also have oversample possibility from 6.2K down to 4K, okay, to give more quality. It also does Apple ProRes and also 422 10 bits. If you don't know what 422 10 bits is because you probably don't need it, okay? So don't worry, okay? But if you were looking for that, yes, it can, okay? So you see, it's really also a possibility for videos. Actually, it does 8K, the other one doesn't, but both have the optional accessory that is a fan. You actually screw where the screen is going, you open the screen, then you screw the fan there to make sure it doesn't overheat. And according to Fujifilm, I could not try because I would need a massive CF Express card, okay? For that, you get 160 minutes of continuous recording without overheating. So you see that although I think this camera is more for photography, they have not neglected the video part for many people who may need it. If you want to do 8K, this is the camera to go for. And if you don't need 8K, probably this is the other one, the X-H2, okay? I'm get lost with the name, okay? So that's it. I think, although I'm not getting deep into video, I think they've made a good part for video, although this is more photography camera. I was just speaking about cards, you know, for by 8K. Well, they have a double slot. You have SD, UHS2 and CF Express B. Obviously, if you're going to use video 8K, you need to use the CF Express B. And if you're doing a really massive focus shift, pixel shift, sorry, picture of 160 megapixel, it's recommended to write that to a card. Okay, use the CF Express B, obviously. Many people are really fan of Fujifilm film simulation. I am one of them, okay, on my X100V. And in this case, yes, you do get the 19 film simulation. I don't know if someone who buys this kind of camera will play with that, if I can say play, okay, or maybe prefer to work in RAW and give their own look or work on it. Doesn't matter, but it's there, okay? When we speak about the battery, when you think 40 million pixel and 8K all this, you think it may eat up the battery really fast. So let's have a look at this. Well, on the economy mode, you will make 680 photos. On normal, 540, which is, well, acceptable. I always prefer over 500, so it is over 500 pictures, okay? It's not as many as a reflex camera, but we're living other time now with mirrorless. And if we speak about video in 8K, the battery will last for 70 minutes, in 4K for 75, and in Full HD 85. Obviously, as I said, you could do continuous recording during 160 minutes before it overheats. Is because you can connect the camera to the power, to a power bank, while recording, so it will not stop because the battery is out, okay? As I said, it's not that big, and the weight is, okay, 660 grams, which is really acceptable. With this 40 million megapixel sensor camera, Fujifilm issued a list of recommended lenses that will really enjoy this 40 million pixel. So many people are worried. They think that the lens they have, if they are not in this list, then they will not have use of this 40 million pixel. And this is not the way it works, okay? When a camera comes out, they've been working on it for any brand, not just Fujifilm, maybe for 3-4 years, okay? So they've been bettering the lenses or any accessory or anything that goes with the camera for when this comes out. This is why they've been renewing that line of lenses, the 56mm, for example, the new one, and many things, okay? The new 33mm 1.4, this, to be ready for when this comes out. But still, if you don't have a lens that is that corresponds to this list, I can tell you that the quality is already better than this lens on an X-T4. The quality, I mean, the details. If you're searching for high resolution, for details, although your lenses are not one of the recommended one, you still get a great results, okay? So no worry on this side. This would not stop me from buying this camera if I didn't have any of these lenses, okay? A quick mention about the autofocus. Yeah, maybe this is not the best autofocus. Maybe it's not as good as a stacked sensor, but still, I think I had no problem. Low light, no problem. I had the small canoa or kayak that was on the river, no problem to focus. Yeah, no problem. So I think for what this camera is for, there will be no problem. Low light, no problem. Product is not going to fly away your product, and if you do some portrait, things like that, that is fine. So maybe not the best autofocus, but I think it's the autofocus that this camera needs, so that's fine for me. So conclusion, because we need to get to a conclusion. Okay, well, the pros and the con. The con, well, easy. They're not really cons, but high ISO is limited. Rolling shutter is a problem if you're going to do action photography, but is it a con? Not really, because I think Fujifilm didn't make this camera for that. So if someone complains about this, he probably bought the wrong camera. He should look at the X-H2S if he was thinking about a Fujifilm. Okay, if he wants another brand, well, another brand, but otherwise within Fujifilm, then if you need that, that's not the camera for you. You should get the X-H2S, okay? Then let's look at the pros. Well, first, the colors. I know that colors, if you work RAW, you can change it, all this. But out of the camera, the colors you get are really nice. Some people say, oh, I prefer this color than that color. And maybe it's a bit not really a logical comment, because actually it should look like reality, okay? So I would define Fujifilm color as really close to, well, really real, but a bit of punch to give it a nicer look, okay? Obviously, you can get the exact real color if you want, okay? But still, I think out of the box, in raw file, you already get a really nice color, okay? I love it. Then if we look at the details, I was amazed, okay? That week in Metz, I tested several cameras, the Nikon Z6 Mark II, the Sony Alpha 7 IV Mark IV, and then the OM system OM5. And they're all great cameras. But this one, I was like this. I was amazed, okay? The results are great, and this is when I started to understand, it takes time sometimes, that some people who look for details, they want to see that. They want to see this picture that are crisp. And I don't know if it was crisp because of the, it looked better than the other camera, I think, but I don't know if it was down to the lens or the camera itself, okay? Because it's really hard to compare. But the result for me was amazing. I loved it. I was amazed, okay? I was also amazed by the dynamic range. You see the picture and you see the shadows, you see the highlight, and the way you get them back, or the way out of the camera it's already well exposed, I was amazed. The quality is brilliant. It was really great, really great. I loved it. Then the shape of the camera, the ergonomy, the way you hold it, really nice, like a small GFX, as I said, okay? The viewfinder is also really nice, good, I loved it. The fact that you have a top monitor, top screen, I think it's really good for pros who have the camera hanging from the neck and they have to look at the camera from the top. It's really fast. On my Olympus, I don't have this. I had it on my Canon. I like it. So I think if it's a pro tool, I think it's good you have a screen on top. Really nice. The fact that you have pixel shift, for some people that's useful. And the 8K video, personally, I would never use it, but I understand that some people may be interested in using it, okay? So for me, this camera is brilliant. For what I do, this is fantastic. But still, for some people, there's a big dilemma. Which one would you get, the X-H2 or the X-H2S? The easy answer is probably to say if you make video, more the X-H2S. If you make only photography, the X-H2. And if you make action photography, the X-H2S. If you make static photography, the X-H2. If you need 8K, X-H2. If you don't need 8K, X-H2S. And you get lost. Well, the answer is really simple, actually. These are tools thought for professional. Although amateur can use them, it's that tools thought for professional. A professional normally doesn't have just one camera, has several cameras. 2 minimum, maybe 3, maybe 4. And I think unless you do wedding photography, and in that case I recommend to have the same 2 cameras. So if one breaks down, you don't have to think, and you keep shooting with the other one and get the same result, everything fine. In this case, probably the X-H2S anyway. But otherwise, normally you should get tools that complete each other. And I think it would be really logical that a pro photographer would have both cameras, an X-H2 and an X-H2S. That would be logical for me. With lens they can share between both of them, I think it would be a good idea. And actually, many people, like Sony user, also do that very often. They have the Alpha 7 for R4 or the R5 that just came out, and another Sony that has less resolution, and they just complete each other. And I think we are in the same scheme. If you're actually a professional, that would be logical to have both cameras, and according to the work you're going to do, use either of them, okay? So my conclusion is this, it's not which one should I get, is if you're an amateur, get the one you prefer. You want to spend too much money, get the one you think is better for you. But if you're a professional doing different type of job, I think both cameras would be logical to have in your kit, okay? So this is my conclusion. So now, let's go back to Metz for the goodbye. If you are interested in getting this camera, I'll leave you a link in the description on where you can buy it. So, thank you so much to Digit Photo for this collaboration for several days with different cameras. Really happy birthday. They've just got, well, birthday or anniversary, 20 years online and 10 as a physical shop, okay? But 20 years online, that's many years, okay? And thank you so much to Olivier from Fujifilm France for bringing this camera especially to make a video. I really thank him because many people were asking for this camera. And thank you to you, obviously, for watching the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The small button down here is a small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when I upload a new video. My website, Gibaud.com. If you have any question, can leave a comment below. I'll also leave you links of my gear on Amazon, links of everything I reviewed by K&F Concept, Sandmark, and Flashes by Westcott, and also a link to my PayPal account in case you wanted to make a donation. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye!